Shalom, children. Last week, we talked about the census of all the Israelites, the setup of their camp, and the jobs that were given to the Levites and the sons of Aaron. Today, we are going to continue learning some more about the Levites and Aaron's sons, and the jobs or responsibilities that Yahweh gave them. Do you know what a responsibility is? It is a job that you are responsible or supposed to do. For example, do you have chores to do at home? Maybe you are responsible for feeding the cat or taking out the trash. Now, your cat wouldn't be very happy if you forgot to feed it, would it? Or how about the trash? The house would get pretty smelly if the trash wasn't taken outside, wouldn't it? Your father and mother have their jobs to do too, don't they? Yahweh gave the Israelites specific jobs to do so that everyone would pitch in to help, just like you do in your home. Things wouldn't work very well if we didn't do our jobs, would it? First, Yahweh told Moshe and Aaron that they should take another census. Do you remember what a census is? It is when the people get counted. But this time, he wanted Moshe and Aaron to count all of those who were between 30 and 50 years old of the sons of Kohath, the sons of Gershon, and the sons of Merari. These are the men Yahweh chose who would have specific jobs to do in the tent of meeting. Remember last time when we learned how Yahweh wanted the Israelites' camp to be set up? Well, you know Yahweh is not going to forget to tell his people anything. So this week we are going to learn how he wanted the camp to be taken down. He wanted things to be done in a certain order and by certain people. First, Aaron and his sons would put away the set-apart objects. These set-apart objects were inside the set-apart and most holy place of the dwelling place. Only Aaron and his sons were allowed to touch the set-apart objects. Remember, we learned about a lot of these during the Parasha Shemot. They were the Ark of the Witness, the table of showbread and its utensils, the 7-branch lampstand and its utensils, and the golden incense altar and its utensils. Yahweh wanted all these items to be carefully wrapped with blue, purple, and scarlet material and fine leather. Do you remember we learned about these items when the Israelites were bringing the contributions to build the dwelling place? They had brought so many things that Moshe had to tell them to stop bringing any more. Yahweh's people were very generous. After the set-apart objects were wrapped, they either had their poles inserted to be carried, or they were placed on a board to be carried to their new location. Yahweh told them that they would start by taking down the covering veil that separated the set-apart and the most holy place. They would take the veil and use it to cover the Ark of the Witness. Then they would cover the Ark with some fine leather, and on top of that they would place a blue wrapper. Then they would put in its poles so it was ready to be carried. After that came the table where they kept the showbread. They would spread a blue wrapper on the table, and on top of that they would place its dishes, ladles, bowls, jars, and the showbread. The table would next be covered with a scarlet wrapper. They would add some fine leather on top of that and insert the poles for the table. Next came the 7-branch lampstand, along with its lamps, snuffers, which is something that is used to put out the lamp when you're done with it, trays, and oil vessels. And over all these things would go a blue wrapper. Then they would take the lampstand and everything that went with it and cover it with a fine leather. After the lampstand was ready, they took the golden incense altar, covered it with a blue wrapper, then fine leather. Next came the utensils used for the service of the incense altar, such as the fire holders, the forks, the shovels and the basins. They had to be covered also. They were wrapped in blue, covered with fine leather, and put onto a bar. When Aaron and his sons were all done covering the set-apart objects and furnishings, it would be time for the sons of Kohath to come in and do their job. They were to lift the set-apart objects and all the furnishings, but they had to be very careful. Yahweh wanted them to remember not to actually touch the things that were set apart, or else they would die. And not only were they forbidden to touch the objects themselves, but they could not even watch them being covered. Wherever the Israelites went, the sons of Kohath were responsible for carrying the ark, the table of showbread, the lampstand, the altars and utensils, and the coverings. Aaron's son Eleazar would supervise the sons of Kohath whilst they were doing all of this, to make sure everyone was doing a good job and following the instructions. The sons of Gershon also had a job to do in the tent of meeting. They were responsible for serving by carrying the curtains of the dwelling place, the curtain of the tent of meeting and its covering, the covering of fine leather on the tent of meeting, the door covering, the screens of the courtyard, the covering for the door of the courtyard gate, the cords, and the equipment used for the service of the dwelling place and tent of meeting. They were to be supervised by Aaron's son Itamar. And let's not forget the sons of Merari. There was a job for them too. They were responsible for the boards, the bars, the columns, and the sockets of the dwelling place. They also took care of the columns around the courtyard, along with everything that went with them like sockets, pegs, and cords. They were also to be supervised by Aaron's son Ithamar. And that is how they moved all those special objects when it was time for the Israelites to pack up camp. Well, children, we have come to the end of our story for today. So we will see you next time for another exciting Torah portion. Shalom.